Hi, and welcome to my movie on the Underground Railroad. Now, the Underground Railroad was not underground, nor was it an actual railroad. It was a network of secret routes and safe houses established to transport slaves to freedom. It operated from the late 1700s up until the start of the Civil War in 1861. At its peak, nearly 1,000 slaves escaped each year using the Underground Railroad. Conductors moved the slaves along the route from safe house to safe house, and the end destination was usually the free northern states, Canada, or Mexico. The Underground Railroad was started in approximately 1780 by Quaker abolitionists looking to help slaves escape to freedom. In 1820, a route from North Carolina to Indiana is established. This was the first long-distance route with multiple stops along the way. By 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act was passed. This stated that all individuals must help in the capture and return of escaped slaves. By 1853, support for the Underground Railroad is growing immensely, and in 1862 signals the approximate end of the Underground Railroad due to the start of the Civil War. Overall, more than 100,000 slaves used the Underground Railroad to escape slavery, and over 3,000 conductors helped them along the way. Conditions on the Underground Railroad were not good. Slaves typically traveled anywhere from 10 to 20 miles per night from safe house to safe house. Stations or safe homes were usually in barns, under church floors, or outdoors in caves or hollowed-out riverbeds. They typically traveled by foot or on wagons in groups of 1 to 3. Routes were often purposely indirect to confuse any pursuers. Information on routes and safe homes were only passed by word of mouth to prevent slave owners and hired bounty hunters from tracking down escaped slaves. Police patrolled the roads and towns in order to catch runaways or law-breaking slaves as well. Harriet Tubman was born in 1822 and died in 1913. She was an abolitionist, humanitarian, scout, and a spy during the Civil War. She escaped slavery in 1849 and became one of the most famous conductors on the Underground Railroad. She made many return journeys to the South to lead hundreds of slaves to freedom, earning the nickname of Moses. Levi Coffin was born in 1798 and died in 1877. He was a Quaker, abolitionist, and humanitarian. He was nicknamed the President of the Underground Railroad. He assisted over 3,000 slaves on their journey to freedom through Indiana. The Coffin House was nicknamed the Grand Central Station of the Underground Railroad. The Emancipation Proclamation was issued by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1, 1963. Suddenly, 3 to 4 million slaves were free. Southern farmers had to find new sources of labor after the slaves were granted their freedom, and because of this, many Southern farmers lived in poverty following the war. The 13th Amendment was passed in 1865, abolishing slavery. The 14th Amendment guaranteed them the rights of American citizenship, and the 15th Amendment gave black men the right to vote. Life was not easy for slaves following their freedom, however. They still faced segregation and racism due to Jim Crow laws until 1965. Many former slaves lived in great poverty following the war and had to rent land from white landowners. Family, churches, and schools became central figures in the life after slavery.